Good evening. This is meteorologist DT with the Snowstorm Podcast, Wednesday afternoon, 4 p.m., February 14th. Happy Valentine's, everybody. Obviously, the big event here we're talking about is a snowstorm coming in Saturday night, Sunday. It's a very tricky situation. The temperatures are very marginal, and if the system is delayed in any way whatsoever, you'll see that a lot of the precipitation will go over to rain, and it really has to come down. The low of the track has got to be just perfect, so it brings down enough heavy precipitation to keep the temperatures at 32 degrees. You know, if the low of the track is shifted one way or another, the snow amounts will get reduced significantly as well. We'll get into that. So lots to talk about. So we're going to start out here first by taking a look at the European from early this morning. This is the 0Z Wednesday European. So let's call it up and I'll highlight it. Okay, this is 0Z Wednesday. Notice what the European does here. The European now has the low so far south that the heavy precip does not get into New York or Connecticut. And because it doesn't, the temperatures there aren't cold enough to keep the cold air in place. Now, when the precipitation breaks out, here's the high. You can see the cold air damming with follow the isobars. You see this kink in the isobars. That's classic cold air damming. So Virginia's cold enough for the precipitation to begin mostly as snow. Western Virginia, specifically Southwest Virginia, the Shenandoah Valley. This could be your big snow of the season. And I really think that's going to be the case. And then you see the precipitation getting in Saturday night into the southern half of Virginia. Again, mostly Shenandoah Valley up towards D.C. So that's what the 0Z was showing last night. And you can see on the snow maps here, this was a significant reduction. The 12Z Tuesday European had a big area of snow in this whole area of 4 to 10 inches. Now, as you can see, it's significantly different from that, showing a generally 2 to 4 inch, 2 to 5 inch type of snow. The image on the left, that's the weather bell site here, European, the weather bell site here. Oops. Weather bell. And this here is Euro weather here, but they're showing the same thing either way. Okay, that was the 0Z Wednesday. Now this is the 0Z Canadian Wednesday, and it has a bit bigger low. And notice the low here is further north. You see how much further north it is? Right here. So because it's further north, look at the dark blue getting into Philly and DC and Baltimore and New York City and into Connecticut and southern New England. And as a result, because it keeps the cold air in place a little longer. It may actually go over in DC or end as rain in DC, Baltimore, New York, Philly. But a large portion on the Canadian model from early Wednesday morning, again, this is 0Z Wednesday, kept it mostly as snow. The precipitation arrives just into enough cold air to keep it as snow. And not surprisingly, as you can see, the snow map, this is the 0Z Wednesday Canadian snow map. That's a pretty good snowstorm, especially given this winter. Again, DC gets hit. North of Charlottesville, Warrington gets hit. Leesburg, Winchester, the northern Shenandoah Valley on this. The Baltimore, Philly, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, up to Boston, the whole thing. That's the Canadian model. Not my favorite model for East Coast snowstorms, but worth taking a look at. The problem is that the upper air pattern is not great for an East Coast snowstorm. It's not horrible. It's just not great. First, the P&A is very negative, and of course that's your trough on the West Coast, so that's not good. The NEO is strongly positive. That's not good. The EPO is negative, so that's okay. You want that, put a bit of a ridge on the over Alaska, bring in some cold air in, so that's not too bad. The other problem is that the Arctic Oscillation. Now we can see here the Arctic Oscillation right now is strongly positive. Up here you can see it, and then it goes negative just when the storm moves in. And then later on, down the road, it goes it's close to neutral, then drops negative at the end of the month. So I guess it's okay to have a neutral Arctic Oscillation that's trending negative. I know Heather Archambault talks about that in her dissertation several years ago. That's a new thing in the weather field. So let's take a look at models operationally and see what happens. Now this is the operational GFS. This is the 12Z run. You can see it right here. This is to show you where it is. There you go, right there. Okay. Now this is 4 o'clock on Saturday, February 17th. Now you can see the purple line is the rain snow line, 0850. Okay, so everything north of this may be snow or probably is snow. Now the 32-degree line is up here, so this is all wet snow in northern West Virginia, northern Kentucky, southeastern Ohio. But look at Richmond is rain, Norfolk is rain, DC is on the edge there, Lynchburg, Roanoke is all rain, no ice there, Raleigh's rain. Tennessee, Kentucky's rain, the whole thing. There you go. Now, if we look at the updated maps here, this is Saturday 7 p.m. on the GFS and Sunday 1 a.m. And you can see the rain snow line is still north of the Shenandoah Valley, north of DC on both of these maps. So the GFS is much warmer than the European. And it has all the snow mostly over, as you can see, northern Kentucky, northern half of much of West Virginia, southeastern Ohio, and then along northern Maryland into Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York City, Harrisburg, that sort of thing. Baltimore's probably gone over snow. DC, 1 o'clock Sunday morning, kind of iffy. And again, everything south of this is all rain. There's the low going off the coast. So that's what the GFS is showing. And not surprisingly, the snow amounts on the GFS are down a little bit. This is the 12Z snow run. And look, that's 2 inches in DC. Okay. Baltimore is 4. The Shenandoah Valley, anywhere from 2 to as much as 6. And then notice also in Connecticut here, the snow amounts are down a little bit. And you'll see that in just a second. We look at the, compare the 12Z GFS snow to the 6Z one. And there it is. Notice that the 6Z had a lot more snow over New York City, Connecticut than the 12Z run does. So there you go. Okay, so now we'll look at the European here. No, excuse me, this is the GFS ensemble, and that's even warmer. Now this is 1 o'clock Sunday morning. At least the GFS is bringing the snow line into DC and Baltimore by then. Here you can see the 0850 line. So that's mixed precipitation, Philly at best. It's snow in New York and Allentown, New York City, northern New Jersey. But Philadelphia's rain, Richmond's rain, Baltimore's rain, Salisbury's rain, Charlottesville's rain, Norfolk, Raleigh, Roanoke, Tennessee, Kentucky, rain, rain, rain. Bugs Bunny first base, Bugs Bunny second base, that sort of thing. Just a lot of rain. Okay. We'll look at the GFS ensemble. This is interesting. It's got pretty good snow down in here because that's where the cold air comes in. So in other words, the precip is coming up in this direction. Oops, let me get my marker out here. The precip is coming up here, and the cold air is in this area. So this is mostly all snow. But as the storm moves on, the cold air continues to retreat. You have much more mixing in New York City and close to Boston. I think Boston's mostly snow, but it's going to be close. And southeastern Mass and so on and so forth. Southern New Jersey, the Delmarva, that sort of thing. So the Shenandoah Valley could do pretty well in this storm, as well as the Poconos and central Pennsylvania, the Cumberland Valley, that sort of thing. Now let's take a look at a European here. This is the European model, 7 o'clock on Saturday evening. And this is a very nice looking map for a number of different reasons. We can see this is 7 p.m. on Saturday. Okay, notice that first of all, the snow line is much further south. You see that? Almost close to Richmond. This is potentially ice in Roanoke, Lynchburg. I don't know. Ground temperatures may be too warm, and of course, Richmond's rain, Norfolk's rain, Raleigh's rain, Tennessee's rain, Kentucky's mostly rain, so on and so forth. North Carolina's rain. But you've got excellent snow in much of West Virginia. The Shenandoah Valley is snowing pretty hard. Charlottesville getting snow. Snow's up to D.C. by then, close to Baltimore. Snow in northeastern Kentucky as well. All right, so this next map, this is 10 o'clock on Saturday night. And let me tell you something, folks. It is snowing like hell over the Shenandoah Valley. Yeah, so you people in the Shenandoah Valley which have not gotten any snow, if this European is right, you're going to get dumped on. Charlottesville's all snow, heavy wet snow. Staunton's heavy snow. Harrisonburg, Front Royal, Culpeper, Orange, Warrington, Winchester. DC's getting really good snow at this point. Baltimore, Hagerstown. Big snows up to Philadelphia. Richmond, all rain. Northern Neck, all rain. Hampton Roads, all rain. Delmarva, southern half, all rain. Raleigh's all rain. Lynchburg and Roanoke, still potentially ice. As you can see, the ice in this area, again, so it's liquid precipitation falling below 32 degrees. That's ice potentially. And southwest Virginia's all rain as well. Good snow continues in West Virginia. So that's an interesting map, but that's a pretty nice looking snowstorm for the Shenandoah Valley, I do have to say, if that's right. And then this is 1 o'clock on Sunday morning, and the thing's clearing out. Now finally, we still have heavy snow in Baltimore and DC. See the dark green in here? That's heavy snow. So this is the snow line. Temperatures around 32 degrees in Philly, Baltimore, DC. So this is all snow. Moderate snow in New York, Allentown, Harrisburg, all the way out to Clarksburg and Cumberland, and Elkton, West Virginia, and then still snowing in Charlottesville. So big snow continuing, moderate snow in the Shenandoah Valley. So it's going to come down there, I think. Of course, now the ground temperature is going to be really warm, so that's going to be another issue. But yeah, it's going to come down from what I can see. And sure enough, the afternoon European is more aggressive with the snow. And this seems reasonable. This is probably the highest end, 6-inch snows, 2 to 6 inch snow. Shenandoah Valley, 2 to 6, 3 to 6. DC, 2 to 4. North by Pennsylvania, Maryland border, maybe some 4, 5, 6 inch snows. And then up into Philly, New York, and close to Boston. Very reasonable. I have no reason to think this is unlikely. And you can see the difference here. You can see the Wednesday early morning and the 12Z run. Okay. Now, the problem is that the ensembles are not as bullish on this. So the X's here represent misses. Okay. So the X here represents a miss. You can see that. And here the half symbols represent partial misses, only minor snowfall. So you can see that quite a number of these are misses. Not all of them, but quite a number. And if we go to the second half of the the European ensemble, same sort of thing. Some of them are big hits for DC and Philly and New York and Boston and Allentown, New Jersey, New York, but not all of them. A significant number are either very minor events or nothing. In fact, of the 2150 European ensemble members show either a total miss or minor snowfall over the Mid-Atlantic, New England. That's 42%. Now, yes, that means 29 is showing a snow. That's true. But 42% is not nothing. 42% is not 10%. It's not 5%. So keep that in mind. All right? Just keep that in mind. This is still some uncertainty involving this yet. Okay. And then also, now if we look at the temperatures afterwards, look, this is amazing. This is, excuse me, let me call this up here. This is Sunday afternoon. So even when the snow ends, Charlottesville jumps up to 48 degrees. Now, if Charlottesville has 4 inches of snow on the ground, it'll be 40, but it'll be 48. Richmond's 50. You can see the warm temperatures in North Carolina. And then even low to mid 40s from DC up to New York City. And then Monday gets even warmer. Richmond goes to 62 next Monday on the 19th. Charlottesville 57, New York, DC's 50, and then close to 50 into New York and Philly. And then as you go beyond that, look at these warm temperatures on Tuesday and Wednesday next week. It says February or May. 70s everywhere, 60s into New York City, upper 60s. Play ball. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Beyond that, what happens? All right. Here's the 240-hour GFS ensemble. There is the block over the United Kingdom and Iceland. Now, technically, this is an NAO, but in the people who know what they're talking about refer to this as a east-based and a negative NAO because it's over Iceland and the United Kingdom. Now, so you have one polar vortex is here, the other one is here. And again, that force keeps the ridge over Alaska, which places their trough here, and you get the southeast ridge. And that's one of the reasons why it's pretty warm. And that takes us through day 10, February 24th. Now, this is the European, and it shows the same sort of thing. The block is still there over Iceland and the United Kingdom, and you have a huge vortex over far northern Canada, and you still have your southeast ridges right here. There's your polar vortex. Here's our trough on the west coast. There's the ridge in Alaska. There's the other polar vortex here, and there's the block. Okay, so the models agree about that at day 10. That's excellent. So what happens after that? Well, this is 330 hours out. The block begins to retrograde. All the models show the block over the United Kingdom going from here to Greenland. And that causes a bit of an upper low to form here, which knocks down the southeast ridge, and we're now getting somewhat colder flow into the U.S., which brings in colder temperatures. We still have a trough on the west coast, and low pressure could be coming out of here and tracking towards the Midwest. So it's a step towards a better pattern at the end of February going into March. And there's one still the Asian polar vortex here. We still need to get this ridge out of here. This ridge has got to change because it's still producing a trough on the west coast. So that's February 28th. And then this is the European day 15, March 1st. And like we said, the block is now here, is retrograded to Greenland. And you have a big, giant 50-50 low here. And the polar vortex is now over Asia. And you still have a trough on the west coast. The ridge is now gone, so that's good. Yay, death to the southeast ridge. But we still have that trough on the west coast. So it's a step towards the right direction. It's not great, but it's a step towards the right direction. As we talked about before, this is the North Atlantic oscillation. On the European, the GFS, you can see that the system does tank. That sucker just goes down there by 3 standard deviations, I think it is, or yeah, 2.5, 3, by March 1st. And then beyond that, the other indicators are not that great. We already talked about the Arctic oscillation going somewhat negative at the end of February. And then this here is the P&A. You can see the P&A is still strongly negative, deep trough on the West Coast. It remains negative all the way through March. Maybe getting close to neutral, but it's still quite negative through March 1st. And this here is the EPO, which is negative. That's good. We want that. Then it goes positive, but then it may drops again. So the EPO is going back and forth. So it looks like the warm pattern is going to come to an end in March, but I'm not really to go crazy excited about snow potentials in March yet. There's some, especially for New England. I mean, it's way too early to ever kill a winter in New England, the Great Lakes, the Ohio Valley. I don't care what the temperatures are in February. You just don't do that. But for the Mid-Atlantic, there's maybe some possibility left. Something like one of these nighttime snowstorms. And as long as you keep that trough on the West Coast, we're not going to get a big blast of cold air in the East. And that's we really kind of need those big blasts of cold air in March in order to get the big snowstorms. So we'll see how it plays out, and we'll see what it looks like this weekend. This is DT. I'll catch you on the Facebook page and the Twitter page.